Hey everybody, we are officially live. I'm so excited to dive into our second workshop of the semester. If you're watching the recording of this, feel free to fast forward by a few minutes. We will get started in just a few minutes. Um, just having Jolene send out the live link to everybody here via email. And yeah, anyways, we're going to get started in just a momentarily. If you are attending the live stream, feel free to introduce yourself and say, hey, where you tuning in from, all that sort of fun stuff. Perfect. Alrighty, it is sent. Hey, Helena, happy that you are here. And I'll put a little note. Welcome. Free to introduce yourself here. Hey, Sydney Vega, joining from the gym. Very nice. Hmm. What is your favorite fun fall activity? Post in the comments. What do you like doing in the fall? I'd like to learn more. We like drinking like hot apple cider or I don't know. I live in Austin, Texas, and the weather is perfect. It's sublime right now. Like Austin, Texas during October, November, December is perfect. Perfect weather. It's my favorite weather ever. Interest, where are you tuning in from? What's your favorite part of fall or autumn, depending on how you pronounce it or call it? Hey, Dr. Tony from North Carolina. Hey, Lorena. What is your favorite part of fall or autumn? What is the favorite thing you like to do during this season? I feel like we're now starting to get into like the season of change and golf and bike riding. D bus. I like it. Um, D bus, what's your handicap? Be curious to know. And it's crazy. I'm not necessarily the biggest golfer in the world, but I am around more people who are really big in the golf. And there's this thing called Q School, which I think is like for qualifying for the US Open and other major tournaments and stuff like that. Sydney, drinking coffee and sleeping. Very cool. Um, Helena, going to the Blue Ridge Mountains. So pretty. So Blue Ridge, is that in North Carolina? Is that like near Asheville? I feel like I was in Asheville and there's this thing called the Blue Ridge Mountains. And if that's the case, that would be very cool. Hey, Lorena from Los Angeles. Tony, best part of fall in North Carolina is that it's not summer. LOL. Yeah, no, for sure. All right, D bus 13. Good handicap. That's solid. Very nice. I'm gonna go till two after just to get allow everybody to come in on time, just to give everybody a moment. I recognize I came in, at 5:57 my time, and it takes a little while for everyone's email to get through and all that sort of fun stuff. Um, so I recognize everyone might be tuning in right now and all that sort of fun stuff. So we'll give it one more minute before we go live. Nasilia from Maryland. Very nice. So, okay, Helena, you are from North Carolina. Okay, I have a food recommendation. If you like Indian food, I was in Asheville, North Carolina earlier this summer. It was in August. And I went to this restaurant called Chai Pani. It's like a James Beard Award restaurant. I think it's some of the best Indian food I've ever had in my life. Uh, I'm not paid by Chai Pani, I promise. But if you were anywhere, I would drive an hour and a half out of the way to go to this restaurant. It was that good. So one of the best Indian restaurants I've ever been to in my life. They've got this thing called Chaat. They have a bunch of them, and it's amazing. I uh, I just highly, highly, highly recommend it. So if you're if you're near the Blue Ridge Mountains or Asheville, North Carolina, I could not recommend Chai Pani more. All right, everybody, welcome. We are gonna get started. Hey, Tammy, welcome. Hey, Elliot, welcome. Hey, everybody from North Texas. Okay, very nice. Cool. Well, let's get started. It's officially 6:02 here in Texas, 7:02 on the East Coast, 5:02 in the Mountain Time, and 4:02 on the West. Let's get started. So, hopefully by now you've started to meet with your mentee. We've made Oh, so Helena, you've been. You know what chai pani is. Okay, you absolutely got to try it. So this workshop is going to be around 10 to 20 minutes. You should have connected with your mentee by now. If not, please email support at ambition-in-motion.com. We've made the pairing stages. We are now in the let's schedule the mentor conversations. We recognize that we're in the repairing stages right now. It's always that awkward stages where if someone needs to be repaired, or let's say a mentor signed up and then they realize like, oh my gosh, I can't commit to this anymore, we'll want to repair them likely with you. So if you don't have a mentee yet, do not fret. By next week we'll have a firm yes, we've got a mentee for you, or no, we don't have a mentee for you. So just bear with us as we get through these first couple of weeks, because we know that this is the percolation period where everyone kind of feels each other out and just gets to know each other. Today's workshop, we're going to cover how to set proper expectations for your mentor relationship, the best way to handle any issues with mentees. Maybe they didn't show up on time, or if you felt they didn't come as prepared as you would like, or maybe they had some noise in the background that you felt was distracting, or they asked to reschedule on short notice. Whatever it may be, I'm gonna walk you through how do you go about handling any issues you may have, and then we're going to talk about how to help your students find balance, and then we're going to also talk about how to help them identify a vision. So. Those are the things we're going to cover in today's workshop. Reminder, I want to remind you the three keys to being a successful mentor: strategy, story, state. I said those in reverse order of importance. Your state, physically, how are you? What is your state like? Are you coming in a non-conducive state to being a successful mentor, or are you coming in excited, prepared, getting your blood flowing? I highly recommend just moving around, getting your body moving just a little bit, just so then you can yeah, come in with a little bit more pep in your step, metaphorically, when it comes to your mentor conversations. Story, that is a story you tell yourself for why you will be a great mentor. Like, obviously, there's head trash that can come into play. Obviously, there's self doubt. There's things that can come into our mind that stop us from being our best selves as a mentor. I really want to focus on what is the positive story we tell ourselves. Because more likely than not, if we tell ourselves a powerful, positive story, we are much more likely to be successful and achieve that outcome than if we tell ourselves a negative story. And then the last thing is the strategy. What are you doing to help your mentee? This can mean doing mock interviews. This can mean making introductions. This can mean helping them with their resume. This can mean helping them with their cover letter. This can mean, giving them practical advice on things they should be thinking about when it comes to their first job, whatever it may be, but really focusing on what are the strategies, the things that you're going to do to help them get to where they want to be professionally. Let's talk about setting proper expectations here. So your first call should be all about your mentee. I think I want to be very, very clear. The best mentors are curious. They ask the best questions. You want to learn what is going on in their world. You want to ask them questions. I'm a big fan of asking them to share with you their life story, starting with kindergarten, and then asking what their dream job is, and then where they like to be in 5 years. And the reason why I love asking that kind of series of questions is because oftentimes when we say, hey, tell me your story or who you are, what you're all about, it's easy for people to just kind of be like, oh, I'm a student studying this, or I'm a student studying that. But like, that's within the last couple of years. Like, that's not their life story. That's not where they got to get to this point. There was them before they went to college. And so I'd be curious to know, like, tell me your story starting with kindergarten. And they're going to give you a much more elaborate version of their life because you've asked them this question. I'm a huge fan of that. And then I love to ask, what is your dream job? And the reason why I like asking that is because after knowing what their life story is starting with kindergarten, you kind of get an idea as to who they are and where they're coming from. And then I like to ask, where would you like to be in 5 years? So what that does is it kind of helps bridge the gap between dream job and intermediary what they need to do to get to that dream job. And I love asking those questions in that order because it helps them break that down into a really logical, rational, step-by-step process. Now, if you can remember what that one thing is, that's great because then you can bring that up in subsequent conversations. Um, Adjacent to setting proper expectations is handling issues. So, this could be a scenario where maybe a student shows up late. Maybe you felt like they didn't come prepared. Maybe they had noise in the background that you thought was distracting. Or if they asked to reschedule on short notice or anything else that could have frustrated you, I'm going to share with you my thoughts on how to handle that. Let's say I'm going to give the example they showed up late. Maybe they showed up 10 minutes late to your meeting. So now you only got 20 minutes left. And you meet with them and you ask them questions. I guess maybe the first thing I would start with is come in with empathy. Come in with understanding. And you might think, well, shoot, I'm the mentor. This is a big waste of my time. I'm going to really impress upon you. Come in acting like as if everything's okay. And here's why. If you come into the meeting and they show up 10 minutes late and then you lambaste them for however many minutes, saying you're wasting their time or they're wasting your time and they don't care about you and all those sorts of things, that is a surefire way to end the mentor relationship before it even got started. Instead, just treat the conversation like as if you're being the best mentor you can be and they did not frustrate you. And this, by the way, goes for if there was destroy noise in the background or if they said something that was frustrating or they rescheduled on last moment, whatever it may be. At the end of the conversation, I would then ask this question. I would say, well, I first say this thing. I'd say, hey, mentee, let's call this person Jen. Hey, Jen, I just wanted to let you know I really enjoyed this conversation. Did you? Jen would be like, yeah, no, this was a really good conversation. And you'd say, oh, great. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. And Jen would be like, yeah, great. Let's put it on the books. And then you say, hey, before we put it on the schedule, I want to set one real quick expectation thing. When we set meetings, my expectation is that you show up on time or come prepared or that you don't have noise in the background or anything distracting or that you come with questions or whatever it may be that your expectation is. And just say, hey, I think for me to be the best mentor for you, I think that would be the most beneficial thing. I think this conversation, this relationship can be incredibly effective and beneficial to the both of us. I want to be clear about, my thoughts and expectations moving forward. Does that sound agreeable to you? Jen's going to be like, oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I love this conversation. Like by doing it in that order, you've built the trust and respect of your mentee. And so then when you ask them like, hey, I want to properly set expectations here, they're much more receptive to receiving that feedback. So yeah, I just would say like I feel I can offer you a lot as your mentor, but for future calls, there's something that I would like from you. First, if we say we're going to start at 10 o'clock, then we start at 10 o'clock. Can I count on you to be on time for our next meeting? Easy peasy. It's a great way of setting that expectation, and they're much more receptive to you as their mentor and to what your expectations are. Because if you don't set the expectation, they might show up late every single time, and it's going to be very frustrating. Um, so whatever the thing is, if there's a thing that frustrates you, set the expectation after building their trust and rapport. That's the thing I would just say. By waiting to set the expectation after building rapport, you are significantly more likely to have a strong relationship with the student than if you got mad at them at the beginning of the conversation. Any questions about anything I've shared so far? Oh, nice. I'm just checking out the that's awesome. Sydney, your mentee and you are practically twins. I love that. Um, Ren, mentee hasn't responded, unfortunately. I will email. Perfect. Yes. Yeah. Please send an email. That sounds great. Um, I'm just checking out the questions. I've been in contact with my mentee via email, and we're in the process of setting up the first initial meeting. That's great. Nicelia, that's fantastic. Hey, Caesar from Monterrey, Mexico. Thanks for zooming in or tuning in. Brittany, we are set for a Zoom next week. Fantastic. For now, we are Nasilia. We're looking for to connect via phone. However, I'm I'm the even we need a video meeting. Is there a platform set aside for the program to use officially? No, we do not have a platform for video chat. If you want to use Google Meet, if you want to use Zoom, if you want to use Teams, if you want to use Skype or WebEx or any other video chat platform you could possibly, it could be FaceTime. I don't care. Video chat is ultimately the best. So Google Meet is free if you have a Google account. So I'm a big fan of Google Meet. Um, I obviously use Zoom. You can see I've got Zoom on right now. Whatever you feel most effective to meet with via video chat, what is totally fine with me. Sabrina, reach out to my mentee via email. Didn't get a response back. Send an email to Jolene at support, and we can follow up with your mentee. Lorena, I'm glad that you and your mentee are meeting on Friday. Fantastic. Lloyd, met with your mentee for your first meeting last weekend. Fantastic. Um, Sabrina, do I need to call her if she didn't respond to my email? You could send her a text on Friday. I think you'd be like, "Hey, mentee, I wanted to follow up with you. I know, my email might have gone to your spam. Let me know if a time next week works for you to chat, and then you can go from there." Jessica, I'm glad that you are meeting with your mentee. Fantastic. Janelle, great start with my mentee and already set up a second meeting by chat for Zoom for next week. Fantastic, Janelle. I love that. Great to learn. Um, Last part of this workshop, I want to cover two key things. I've got a set of questions that I like to ask. One is to help a mentee with identifying their vision. The other was helping them find balance. So let's start with the vision first. And the reason why I like to ask these questions to help a mentee find their vision is because, or identify their vision, is because I don't know. Sometimes a lot of college students are a little bit lost in terms of figuring out what their path is going to be and where they want to go. And these sets of questions can be really powerful and impactful for helping them understand where they want to go. So, first question I like to ask when it comes to helping a student identify a vision: if this situation were to work out for you in the best way possible, what would it be? And their situation could be their career, their internship, their collegiate career, whatever it may be. If this situation were to work out in the best way possible, what would it be? That's the first question I like to ask. Second question I like to ask is, what is one thing that seems impossible, but with a little luck and a lot of work just might be within reach? I love asking this question because what it does is it helps them really see what could be possible for their situation. So it helps them identify, you know, that it helps them see above and beyond the horizon. The third question I like to ask is, what will you commit to doing today, this week, this month? I like setting up an action plan because ultimately, if you can set up an action plan, you are much more likely to get your mentee to actually to do something about it. Like ultimately, a dream without a plan is a wish, and wishes don't always get granted. So I guess what I'll just say is, what we want to do is set up an action plan around what is the thing we're trying to achieve. Fourth question I like to ask is, who do you know that thinks big? And I like asking this question because what it does is it gets your mentee thinking about who thinks big in their life and what they want to achieve. And ultimately, it gets them a paradigm for success. It gives them a role model. Like, what was it? Roger Bannister broke like the 4 minute mile or something like that. And then within a year, like 12 people did it or something like that. The point is that once you can see somebody else doing it, the thing that you most want to strive for, and you realize that they're just as human as you are much more likely to actually achieve that outcome because you have a role model for what success looks like. The last question I like to ask is, what in your life keeps you thinking small? I like asking that question because what it does is it helps your mentee identify their limiting beliefs and the limiting things in their life. So, those are the 5 questions that I like to ask to help your student find a vision. I'm checking out the chat here. Just nice. Shala, you are meeting with your mentee at 8 tonight. Fantastic. Yeah, Sydney, definitely. I would send a follow-up email and then possible text/call if you don't get any response. I think that's a great response there, Sydney. I'm a fan of text, especially with students, because that's how they prefer to communicate. My mentee reached out to you on LinkedIn, so that's also a great spot too. Oh, nice, D-Bus. Well, a question we ask in our getting to know you session at work is, if you won the lottery and not working was not an option, what would you do? I love that question. Fantastic. Really good stuff. Yeah, Lorena, I also love Calendly as well. It's a great way to just get the calendar on the books. Simran or Simra, How long should we wait for the mentee to respond to our initial email before follow-up is sent? I'd wait a week. So like by now, if you don't have your response yet, within the next couple of days, I would send yeah, within the next couple of days, I'd send a follow-up email and then perhaps a text on Friday. Next set of questions. I got 7 questions that I like to ask a mentee when it comes to helping them identify balance or just like find balance in their life. I think this is something that a lot of students struggle with, and I think a lot of people in general struggle with, um, because there's just so much other noise in your world, and it's hard to prioritize. And so, how do you go about helping a person find balance? First question I like to ask is, what do you want to say yes to in your life? So, what this question does is it helps a mentee identify what they want to have more of in their life. That's the first step to helping anybody find balance. Second question I like to ask is, what do you need to say no to? This is also important because it helps your mentee identify what is holding them back from being the best selves. Like I think sometimes we have crutches and we just stick to them because that's comfortable and we it's been our crutch for our life. But ultimately, what I recognize is if you can identify what you need to say no to, it's a lot easier to say no to that person or to that thing. 3, when do you feel pulled off center? This kind of aligns with the previous question of what do you need to say no to, is because when you feel pulled off center, that's when you're like, oh, yeah, I get pulled off center when my one toxic friend asks me to do things that I don't really want to do, but like they're my friend and I want to show that I've got their back or whatever. And then like it pulls me off center and then I feel abused and I don't like it. And then it's not a helpful relationship. It's like, cool, maybe you don't want to spend too much more time with that person anymore. I don't know. Fourth question, what contributes to this feeling? So this is a great follow-up question because what it does is it gets your mentee in the zone of, oh, what contributes to this feeling is when I go along with my one toxic friend who asks me to do things I don't want to do, and then I do it anyways, and then I feel overwhelmed and it's stressed out and I don't like it, and that contributes to the feeling because I don't like it. The fifth question I like to ask when it comes to helping a mentee find balance is, when do you feel most grounded in life? So this is a great question because it helps your mentee get into flow as to like, dang, I feel most grounded in life when I'm doing X or when I'm doing Y or when I'm doing Z. And the reason why that's so great is because it helps you help them better identify, okay, this is what you want to start doing more of. The sixth question I like to ask is, what in your life takes away from what might be possible for you? I like asking this question because yeah, ultimately what it does is it helps your mentee identify what limiting factors are holding them back, and then maybe they can start eradicating it. Like acknowledging where your roadblocks are is the first step to actually overcoming said roadblocks. Most people struggle with acknowledging the roadblocks because no one asks them the question as to like, who's holding you back from achieving your dreams or your goals? Is it a parent? Is it a friend? Is it a sibling? Like, who is this? Or what is this? Is it a situation? I don't know. Last question I like to ask when it comes to helping a mentee identify balance or achieve balance is, what in your life adds to who you are? I like asking that question because it's a great way to better understand, where your mentee is and, what adds to their life and who they are and where they're trying to go. So, anyways, that is pretty much everything I wanted to cover in our workshop this evening. So I gave some suggested questions on how to identify vision. I've now given some questions on how to help a mentee find balance. Um, I'm excited for you to kick off your mentor conversations. This is really amazing, really exciting. I'm excited for you all to get started. Some of you already have, and that's amazing, fantastic. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. Any questions? Post them in the comments. I'd love to see if y'all have any questions. I know I've addressed a couple of them so far. Just keeping a watchful, keen eye on the comment section. And by the way, on a separate note, if you're a mentor and you're in a leadership position in your organization, you're thinking to yourself, like, I want to continue the mentor conversation. I do have these executive mastermind groups. I know a lot of you have already connected with me on LinkedIn, so you see a lot of my leadership content. If any of you are interested in chatting with me about our executive mastermind groups, just send me a message on LinkedIn or send a message to Jolene and we'll get something scheduled. But essentially, if you're in a leadership role, or even if you're aspiring to be in a leadership role, These mastermind groups are fantastic and they're always great. But anyways, this has been a great workshop. It looks like there are no questions beyond the ones that I've already addressed. Um, Everybody, thanks for being here. Our next workshop will be on, I'm pulling it up right now, I believe, yep, November 5th, which is a Wednesday, same exact time. That will be our next workshop. So we've got a few weeks before our next workshop happens. In the meantime, please have your first conversations. Um, Hugh Mara, you said you can't see it. What can't you see? Um, But yeah, in the meantime, have some amazing conversations. And if you have any issues at all with connecting with your mentee, with getting the conversation on the books, please reach out to Jeline. We can help that get answered. We know email sometimes can go to spam, so your mentee might have it go to spam. Follow up with them, I would say today or tomorrow. And then if you don't get anything back by Friday, I'd send them a text. So everybody on your dashboard, you've got the text, the phone number of your mentee. Send them a text or say like, "Hey, mentee, this is John, your mentor. Wanted to see if we can find a time to chat. I don't know if my email went to spam, but let me know if there is a time next week or the week after that we can find a time to connect." How often, Sydney Vega, how often should we meet with our mentee? I mean, the requirement for the semester is 3 times. If you want to meet more frequently, amazing, that's fantastic. But I recognize that you're busy and you probably got a lot of things on your schedule, so I want to be conscientious of that. But the bare bones minimum is 3. If you're open to meeting more often with that and they're open to meeting with you, fantastic. But yeah, our expectation is 3 times, 30-minute meetings over the course of the semester. Oh, Humera, you can see it now. Fantastic. Amazing. I let mine decide how often we meet, but didn't know if there was a suggested frequency. Yep, no, I love that. That's great. Yeah, I mean, if you want to meet with your mentee once a week, that's totally fine. But yeah, like I said, the requirement's 3 times over the semester. Fantastic, Stacy, I love hearing that your mentees replied. That's excellent news. Well, everybody, thank you for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I am looking forward to seeing you in our next workshop on November 5th, same exact